let's do everything that we need to. More attitude, and I'm thinking, okay, this is my husband's daughter. Right, like just this frustration, like I cannot believe this kid right now. And I felt like the entire morning would kind of go that way. Then there were other days where I feel like I kind of woke up on the right side of bed, and I would wake up and she'd be the same, with a little attitude-y, and I'd be like, oh, she's so cute. Like I really like her. She would continue, I'd be like, I don't even gotta go. She's slacking again, as usual, and I'd be like, hey, maybe she's having a harder day. So on we would go, but I was able to kind of feel controlled. What do you think was the difference there?
Mindset.
Mindset. Same kid, same attitude, but I was different. Where do you think that starts from? You said it best. Your thoughts. Based off of the thoughts that you create is how you will feel, and how you feel is then how you will behave. All right, so let's kind of go through that real quick. So the thoughts that you make in your head, that indicates how you're going to feel, and then that's how you behave. So if I think, wow, this day is off to a rough start, how do I feel? What's an emotion word for that, you think?
It's already negative.
I have negative thoughts, but what's the feeling? I'm exhausted. And then how do I behave? Well, then I'm just like, okay, I'm exhausted. And she gives me attitude, and then I think, what?
No patience.
I'm over it. Girl, this day just started. And then how do I feel?
Irritated?
Irritated, frustrated. And then she gives me attitude, and then guess what? Because she's like me.
You bounce back?
I give her attitude back. And then what do I think? I'm so over it. I don't have time for this. She's frustrating the heck out of me. And then I start acting differently than who I am.
Out of character.
Out of character. So let's kind of play that back in a different way, right? On my good day. How does my day start on a good day with those thoughts? What happens there? But before the feeling, what thought do I have? What kind of positive thought do you think? Lord, thank you.
Great.
Thank you for waking me up in the morning. Then how do I feel? Peaceful. So then when I go out of my room, she's giving me her little baby attitude, then how do I respond? Pretty regulated, right? I'm at peace. God woke me up, he's blessed me today. She gives me a little attitude and I think, okay, I'm tracking you. I know, right? That's the enemy trying to take me down. So then how do I feel? I feel maybe controlled, very content. Then how do I act? That way. I say, no ma'am, we're not gonna do that today. Let's go. So then what do I think? Hey, we're gonna do this. It's off to a rough start. How do I feel? Does that make sense?
Yeah, cycle.
It's a cycle. Exactly right. You have the ability to stop or start the cycle countless times throughout your day. Countless times. We don't even know how many times. It's actually impossible for us to track how many thoughts that we create within any given day. The suggestion is into the millions and trillions, especially women. We have so many thoughts that we create. And it's crazy because the Bible talks a whole lot about our thoughts. Did you know that?
Throw in menopause.
Throw in a little dash of menopause, and thoughts get a little crazy, don't they? So, does anybody have their Bible with them? 2 Corinthians 10:5. Can we go there? Corinthians 10. 2 Corinthians 10:5. If you are there and would be willing to read out loud, it's not a requirement, but if you would be willing to read out loud for the rest of us, anybody?
Go on.
We demolish arguments and every pretense that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ.
Interesting. Does anybody else have a different version? What version is that? What version is that one?
That's an idea.
NIV. Does anybody have anything else?
You want me to put in an NLT?
Sure. NLT, Living Translation.
Okay. We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ.
Thank you. Round of applause for my friend here. What do you think that verse means? Anybody? Take a look at it again, you've got it. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Well, that's a mouthful. What does that mean? Anybody?
To submit your thoughts to Christ.
Submit your thoughts to Christ.
Submit intrusive thoughts.
Say that again.
Submit intrusive thoughts.
Submit intrusive thoughts
Intrusive thoughts from the devil.
to Christ.
Being aware.
Being aware of that. And what are we supposed to do after we become aware of it? What does it say?
Take them captive.
We have to take her captive. What the? Captive? I remember when I first read this and I was like, captive like what? And he was like, well, do you know what like being taken captive is? I was like a pirate? He was like, yeah, like a pirate. And I'm like, so like they go and like, they capture the things and then they like hold the guy captive, and he was like, yeah, like that. That's the way I talked to him. I don't know how he talked to him, but that's the way that's how me and Jesus talk. And he said, you gotta take your thoughts captive. And I was like, so like, put him in jail. He said, exactly.
But it also says demolish and destroy.
Demolish and destroy. Which ones are we supposed to demolish and destroy?
That.
Which ones?
The negative emotions.
Anything that sets itself up against the knowledge of God.
Mm.
So he tells us what to do. First, we gotta what? Take it captive. Which ones? All of them, actually. Take them all captive. So that means we gotta put it through a little filter. We gotta put it through a little funnel. So we gotta take captive all of our thoughts, and then we have to do what? We gotta sort them out. So what does that mean that we have to do to our thoughts? We have to listen to them first and say, what did you just say? I said today's gonna be a sucky day. Well, thought. What should we do with that? Is that according to what God says?
No.
So what are we supposed to do with it? Take it captive, and then what? Demolish it. We gotta destroy it.
I used to have a friend that would say, if I said, I'm having a bad day, she said, you're not having a bad day, you're having a bad moment.
She had a friend who would say, every time she would say, I'm having a bad day, she would say, no, you're not having a bad day, you're having a bad moment. So thoughts have a way of doing these really weird things. And so I'll have Krista email this or share this with you all another way. But in therapy, there are very common negative thoughts that we have. Very negative thoughts. And my friend here just introduced one. So instead of saying, I'm having a bad moment, she was saying, what?
Having a bad day.
What do you think that's called? Generalizing. She was overgeneralizing. Did you know that that's an unhelpful thinking pattern? When you generalize one thing and make it about all things. For example, if I was married, this is not true, but if I was married and I had a really terrible experience with my husband and he cheated on me and it was not good, and I got a divorce, and I said, I'm never getting married again. Because all guys are cheaters.
No.
What is that? What's going on there?
Generalizing.
Are they all really cheaters?
Almost.
I'm seeing a lot of head nods, ladies. This is a trick question.
Whether you know about it, it's different.
Think about that for a second. All of them? Like, really, all of them? Because I know quite a few who are not. My dad's a good man to this day. My brothers, they're good men to this day. Never once cheated, never once. I know good men. My husband is a good man. And you say, well, that's cool for you. No, that could be cool for you too.
Yeah.
Right? So overgeneralization is one thing that we have to be real careful of because that's super sneaky. And it almost sounds like it's right. But what we know about overgeneralization, that's not from Christ. It's not at all.
Right.
And so from there, we are not looking to get into our thoughts and try to rework everything. The first thing is we have to pay attention to them, to catch them. Did you know in therapy, the first homework assignment that we give, it's so annoying. And if you ever came to me for therapy, you'd probably be very annoyed. You know what it is? Awareness. AKA, pay attention to the thoughts you're thinking. Whenever I say that, people like literally roll their eyes. Pay attention to the thoughts that you're thinking. Why?
So you can get to know yourself.
You get to know what's going on within your four walls. And you're the only person who knows what's there. Isn't that crazy? Like, I will never know what you're thinking. For some of you, you say, no, it's written on my face. I'm gonna be inaccurate. You're the only person who knows what you're thinking. You and fun fact, the enemy does not know what you're thinking.
Right.
Why? Why doesn't he know what you're thinking?
He doesn't have that access.
He's not omniscient. But there is power in the tongue. So the second that escapes from your thoughts out of your mouth, he's all about it.
Right? Absolutely.
So it's the power of the tongue, remember? So we have to speak life. But before we're speaking life, we have to think in life. Are we tracking, Rhea?
Yes.
Okay, so overgeneralization. I want you to think about that right now. Has there ever been a time when you've overgeneralized? You heard an example there, you heard another example here. Can anybody else think of another unhelpful thought pattern? We call them ants, automatic negative thoughts. It's kind of like this thing that you think of like right away. So one of those is overgeneralization. Does anybody else have an example of overgeneralization? Yes.
All women are cheaters.
All women are cheaters. Oh.
Yes.
That tells, if somebody were to say that, it tells us a little bit about their story, but it doesn't make that true. Go
I
ahead.
have an example that somebody sent me something, one time, and it was about the power of our words, right? And one of the things that most of us always say, oh, this kid is just, and the husband is Ellie, right? And we say, this kid is just like their father.
Claiming a curse on behalf of that child. That's tough. Is that true, though? It doesn't have to be. But that child will accept it as truth if you continue to speak that to that child. Any other? Go
It's
ahead.
like calling them a bad boy or a bad girl.
It's like calling them a bad boy or a bad girl. Are they really a bad boy, or are they doing something naughty in that moment?
This is what I tell my grandchildren. I never tell them that. When even my children would say, you're just learning to behave better. You're not, because, oh, bad boy, no, you're not a bad boy. You're learning to behave. We are learning to behave.
So what my friend is sharing, that with her grandchildren, if they would say, I'm a bad boy, I'm a bad girl, she would say, no, you're just learning to behave better. It's an opportunity for that. But before the behavior, we know, where do we really need to change? In our thoughts. Okay, so let's talk about another type of negative thought that sometimes we run into. Another thing that sometimes is really difficult for women, I've noticed, is disqualifying the positive. I can remember, I do quite a few speaking engagements, sometimes with 30 women, sometimes with 300 people, it all depends. And so one of the things that we do as part of that process is we get feedback forms. Like, what did you think about it? How did it go? What did you like? What did you not like? And I can remember like it was yesterday, right? And I had like, it was great, we loved it, we enjoyed it, blah, 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 blah. It was kind of bland and boring.
Oh, yeah.
It was great, I loved it, I can't wait for her to come again, is she gonna come again? It was just meh. I think out of probably about 100 or more, I had 2 that in my opinion were very negative. Which ones do you think I remember?
The negative ones. It's like the Amazon,
It's like the Amazon, the reviews. Yeah,
that enters me.
I know, I'm always like 4 stars or more. How many of us though are quick to disqualify that positive? I see a lot of head nods. Anybody want to speak on that? You dismiss the good things, the compliments or successes, like they don't really count.
Mhm.
But the devil wants that.
Why would the devil want that?
Because he doesn't want us to succeed.
He does not want you to walk in the fullness of who you are in Christ.
Amen.
Anybody have any examples of a time when maybe you've done this, where you disqualify the positive? I want you to think about the last time you received a compliment. How well or not did you take that?
It's difficult for me to accept compliments about anything.
Difficult for my friend here to accept a compliment about anything.
That's like me too.
And I have to learn to say, thank you.
And let me ask you this, when you say thank you, and that's what your behavior is that really something that you believe in your mind?
Actually, I think about what they told me, and then it goes, yeah.
She thinks about what they tell her and can now say, yeah. Go ahead, friend in the back.
Sometimes like my husband will be like, oh, you're so pretty or something, and I'll dismiss it. It's so bad.
So sometimes when her husband will say, you're so pretty, she's quick to kind of dismiss it and give actually a negative quality about herself. I saw a few more head nods there. Things are getting a little real.
Yeah.
One of the things that I see a lot, and men and women both, is I'll say, wow, your eyes look so beautiful, and it's an automatic avoidance. Isn't that interesting? Instead of saying, yep, these are the ones that Jesus gave me. Ojitos, ojitos, ojitos.
I think also sometimes people have a problem with, like, I didn't have a problem with it because I knew what was going on, but my first husband, he would never give me a compliment. Then I would get compliments from strangers, and those compliments didn't matter to me. Because that's not, I don't want to hear people, okay, that's okay, thank you. But those were not valid to me, because they weren't coming from the person that I wanted to hear them from.
So the person who she really wanted to hear compliments from was from her husband, who was not giving her any. But she found that others in her environment were actually quick to give her compliments, but she didn't really care to receive them because they were strangers. But are they not intentionally placed there by God, though, too? Those little nuggets of blessings for God to remind you that maybe even if you're not hearing that at home, let me show you how beautiful this world can be. Interesting, right? How God can sometimes move in the people around us. But if we've been through some things, how quick we are to say, well, why? Why'd you just give me that compliment? That interesting. So, right now we talked about two ants. Do you remember what ants stand for?
Again.
Automatic negative thinking. Round of applause for my friend here. These are some examples of what we need to take captive for these little ants, because those little ants turn into big behaviors later. Real big behaviors later, okay? Let's also think about something called jumping to conclusions. This one's kind of an easier one. Like if you tried to guess what it was, you're probably gonna be right. Like what does jumping to conclusions mean? It means jumping to conclusions. So you're right, you're right. So it's assuming you know something without enough evidence. This includes something we call mind reading or fortune telling. For example, my son, he's 22, he's been home for the summer from college, he's living this Saturday and I can't wait. Ooh boy, I love him, but I love my quiet better. So he was talking today about going to this event tonight and he was really nervous about it. And he's like, I'm not gonna know anybody there. And I don't even think I'm gonna have a good time. And I was like, oh. Like, you're not even there yet. Like, you've never even been. Like, chill out. Calm down. You know how to talk to people. You're gonna be okay. Can we try? Tell me how it goes after, not before, because you have no idea. So do you see how quick he was to convince himself not to go? Because that thought, if he would have let it, would have made him feel what? Anxious? I think I would have felt nervous. If I'm thinking, I'm not going to know anybody, this is not going to go well, now I feel really anxious and nervous, what am I going to do? I'm probably going to stay home. before you even try. So do you see how that jumping to conclusion can be really dangerous? We serve a God who's already in the tomorrow. That's crazy. I was just talking to Krista about this because I've been talking to Jesus a little bit about time. Like this concept of time, guys, it's like tripping me out. I'm gonna tell you a really quick story. I think I have time because I think y'all appreciate it. Okay, so I specialize in treating, trigger warning, childhood sexual abuse. I'm an expert in that. I hate that. That's my level of expertise, but it is something that God called me to many, many years ago, and it's something that I stayed in as a result of what He's doing through me. Okay, but I remember I was working with somebody, and it had taken a long time to get to where we were getting to in that moment, and we had 5 minutes left in session. You never pursue things further when there's only 5 minutes left in session. Like it's just something you don't do. It can be really emotionally unsafe for the client, right? Because we don't want to have them leave session and they're kind of like tripping out in their own thoughts. So we really wouldn't. But I have been waiting for this moment for a long, long time. And I said, Lord, I knew I had another client, so I couldn't extend the session. Like I just couldn't. And I said, Lord, and I'm like calling on Him, like, what do I do? Because I have to maintain the integrity of my work, and for the next client who's there, that deserves just as much of my time and attention. But I know how much it took, and bravery it took for Him to tell me what He told me, and we got 5 minutes, and I said, Lord, hold the time. Guys, you freaking held the time. I promise you, I know I sound crazy, I know. He held that time and we got through at least, my guess is at least 20 to 25 minutes of processing, at least. When I looked at the clock, we do have battery clocks. Therapists have a bunch of clocks in their office. If you ever go to one, we've got like 3, 4, and they're all strategically set. So when our time is almost done, I'm not like, right? So it's right usually above your head. And so I was looking like, oh, we gotta put batteries in that clock. And so I'm just working, we're processing, we knock it out, a lot of really great work. And I walked out, that time was not broken. I really believe that that was a miracle and He held that time. God doesn't exist in time. It is of no issue for Him. So when we find ourselves jumping through time and worrying about tomorrow, jumping to conclusions about what's gonna be or what should be, He's like, no, baby, I'm the only one who exists outside of these time constraints. So when we find ourselves jumping to conclusions, so too far ahead, or sometimes even too far behind, it creates a lot of anxiety. Did you know that anxiety is the only thing that is a mental health condition that exists outside of this current time? And people are like, no, I feel like it's just right now. And I'm like, no, your thoughts are feeling anxiety about a time that has not even occurred yet or already did.
I heard something yesterday about that.
She heard something yesterday about that.
How people get anxious about choices that they have to make, and how they pray on it, and how God looks at us and He's like, dude, I'm not like sitting here pacing around hoping that you make the right decision. Whatever decision you make, I'm gonna work it out for your benefit. Like, you know, I'm your.
I got you.
Yes, exactly. Like I got you. So.
Well, you're over here tripping out. He's like, I got you. He's already there. Remember, He doesn't exist in time, so He's already there in that choice. But if you were to think about that, because I want to challenge, I feel like there's at least somebody in the room who's saying, no, real talk, I'm feeling a little anxious. Let's think about that for a second. I want you to think about physically how you're feeling, just physically, right? So maybe it's a little chilly, maybe not. You say, no, I'm not too hot, I'm not too cold. Okay, so your body is okay. If you're super hungry, we'll grab some food right there. You're like, I'm feeling thirsty. There's access to water and water fountains, and even some tea there. Right, so we know that your body is okay. You're in a safe place. I'm a safe person. And here, right now in this moment, if you demand of your thoughts to stay here, you are perfectly at peace. Think about that for a second, right now in this moment. The anxiety begins when you begin to jump to a different time or a conclusion of a different time or space. That's where the anxiety exists. But the anxiety doesn't exist right now in this moment. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to comment, so I had an experience yesterday to where somebody else made me anxious. Like asked me questions, well, what if this happens? And what are you gonna do when this happens? Because I have some stuff going on that I don't know the outcome yet. And he was like, well, what are you gonna do with this? And I was like, you're making me anxious. I'm not there yet. I'm here today. I don't know the outcome yet, but I'm gonna cross that bridge when it happens.
Yes.
So sometimes people can bring anxiety to you,
Yeah.
you know?
My friend here is sharing, I think was everybody able to kind of hear that? Is that there was a level of anxiety that she felt being experienced as a result of what somebody else was putting inside her mind. The Bible also talks about the fortitude of your mind. He actually talks about anxiety or not having it 365 times in the Bible.
Yeah.
One for every day of the year. That's crazy. Oh, wowzers, you're a smart guy. But yes, the reality is if we allow it, somebody else can create in us a different emotion. But is it really an emotion? My friend said anxiety. Their anxiety is kind of almost trying to give her anxiety, but where does she have to stop it? In the thoughts. And that thought said, I'm not there yet. I serve a God who's there, but I am not. What will occur? I do not know. I am not there. When I am there, I will determine from there. So it had to be paused because the anxiety was like, I don't know. Like it was knocking on her door to say, well, what am I gonna do? I need to figure everything out now. What about this? What about that? So it goes back to, interestingly, we want to make sure that we are not making anything bigger than what it is or smaller than what it is. Another automatic negative thought, or ANT, is called magnification or minimization. Fancy words, but what do you think that means? Magnification. Make it bigger. Like think of a magnifying glass. If you look through it, it makes something bigger than what it is. So magnification, we have those in our thoughts sometimes. And we make something bigger than it is. Can anybody think of a time when you made something bigger than what it was? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I do a lot, and this week I have a lot planned, and a lot of events that I've been doing, including this one. So at the beginning of the week, I had a dream, and when I woke up, it wasn't a very good dream, because I was thinking, I guess, about everything. And I had text, my Stephanie and Daisy, and I was like, hey guys, I need y'all to pray for me. I need somebody to talk to me because I'm feeling anxious because this isn't gonna work. How am I gonna get all this done? And blah 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 blah. And they did, and I said, you know, I just need someone to tell me everything's gonna be okay. Take it one step at a time. And they weren't responding right away. So my husband said, I need you to tell me everything's gonna be okay. Give me a hug, and everything's gonna be fine. He's like, what's going on? And I said, there's a lot going on, and I have to figure out how to make all this work.
So the reality, it sounds like, is there are a lot of things on your plate. There's a lot of things to do. My friend found herself asking, how am I gonna do all of it? It feels really, really big. And she was asking for just somebody to ground her in that moment. She found herself asking her support person, which sounds like your husband in that moment, or a friend?
At home with my husband, or I message Daisy or Stephanie.
Or messaging a friend to say, I need your help to ground here. Which is great. Thank you for sharing that. But how many of us can relate to that feeling? You're like, this is getting real big real quick. Right here. Right here. Anybody else think of another example of a time when something has been like, uh-oh, we're blowing this real big and real out of proportion?
Sometimes, and this is something I just went through recently, you make the issue all about you, and then it just gets all crazy in your head, and you're thinking to yourself, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna handle it this way, and then your negative thoughts come in, and then you make the wrong decision. Instead of saying, God, I'm gonna do this first. And when you do that, when you take a moment and you go back, and you're able to regroup, then you make the right decision.
So my friend here
It's not about, it's about you.
is sharing that sometimes on the inverse of that, you can be too self-focused and make it about you and begin to think this is something that I can control, this is something I can do, this is what I need to do, and it feels bigger and bigger and bigger. That is actually called personalization. We're going to talk about that ant next. but I want to come back to the magnification and minimization. So making a problem seem much bigger than what it is, or making something important or hopeful smaller than what it is.
So I have a question. So how do you determine like who is magnifying it and who is minimizing it? Because, for instance, my husband loves the word cognitive. He's like, you need to work on your cognitive skills.
Tell them I did today.
I don't know, because I'm feeling very anxious right now. But, like, so something that is like, currently existing is after school pickup, right? Because my kids don't go in our district, right? We're in the south side, they go to north side. So I'm freaking out, I'm magnifying who's gonna pick them up. We have one car. He drives the work truck, I drive the car, I'm in Converse, Texas, they're in Northside. Who's picking up our kids tomorrow? And he's like, why are you worried about it? Like, whoever picks them up. And I'm like, what? Like, how? Like, he's not worried about it. And I'm so worried about it. And it's like, every day, it's like, constantly like, am I gonna be in a meeting at 3:15 when I have to leave? You know, stealing the company's time, not gonna be back on time, like, who's gonna pick up, you know, and for him, it's like, it's so, why are you so worried? You know, so like, how do you like find that balance or determine who's magnifying it? And where, in my defense, I'm telling him, you're minimizing it. Like, we have to plan this out, like, who's gonna pick up our kids? So luckily, like, my daughter has her own car, so she's been taking her lunch and helping me pick them up, you know, but I'm just like, what if she's not there one day, and what if one day I'm, you know, somewhere else and I can't, so I don't know, like, it's just finding that balance of who's right and who's wrong. And
Well, and I don't know if it's so much who's right and who's wrong, but one of the things that's super interesting about how we think is, in situations like this, we very rarely think in questions. So go back to like grade school with like, you know, question marks at the end of a sentence versus periods, the punctuation. So we very rarely think in questions. Who's gonna pick up the kids? Chances are you're thinking, nobody's gonna be there to get the kids, period. They're gonna be there all by themselves, period. I'm gonna be a bad mom, period. They're very rarely questions. My son even had that earlier, right? Like, what if I don't know anybody there? That's a question. It wasn't a question. I'm not gonna know anybody there. That's the underlying core. But is that true? Well, we're not in tomorrow, so no, that's not true. It could be true, yeah, but it's not true today.
how do you live like that though? Right, don't you have to like plan? Like, don't you have like to have a plan? Like, who's gonna get your kids?
That would be true, and that's something then that you can account for, to say, I will plan going forward. Maybe your husband is not part of that plan. Maybe you need after school care.
Wait, do you always figure it out? Do you always figure it out?
Yes,
That's
so
why
God
he's-
has always made,
Well,
well, he
that's
made
why
a way
he's
the
so
first
calm.
week, amen. He made a way this far, so, I mean, I'm just taking it day by day.
We're gonna talk about this. We're
Okay.
gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
You're right. But the reality is, we're already thinking about the anxieties of tomorrow. Anybody know what Bible verse that is?
I think it's in Matthew, right?
Let's look. The anxieties of tomorrow.
I know the verse, not the address.
Okay.
For what hour will it answer?
Okay, we've got Matthew 6:34. My friend was right. It is in Matthew. Matthew 6:34. Anybody there? Matthew 6:34. Matthew 6:34. Anybody know, or anybody there? You're there? Go ahead. Nice and loud.
Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow.
Pause. Do not worry for what? One more time, do not worry for what? Okay, go ahead.
For tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own.
Interesting. Here's the thing, right? It says don't worry about tomorrow. It doesn't say don't think about tomorrow. You can think about tomorrow, and that's really helpful. That's called planning and maturity. It's called responsibility. But worrying, that's different. Anxiety is different. God's trying to convict you on the anxiety part. I want you to think about all of these things. But it sounds like with the thoughts that you're creating, it's producing that anxious feeling. And with those anxious feelings, sometimes it can be really hard to go to sleep, feel rested, feel in control of ourselves, not feel so irritable and like you want to fight him when he does something ridiculous, right?
What's the order of this? So fear, anxiety?
It's usually worry,
Thoughts,
anxiety.
fear.
Well, thoughts, emotions, actions. Thoughts, emotions, and actions. So what we're talking about was the emotion of anxiety, but the challenge before that is to capture the thought that's producing that anxiety. So remember, the thought is not who's gonna pick up my kids, if my kids are gonna be there all by themselves, if they're gonna get stolen and kidnapped, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with, right? Like, those thoughts are what we have to take captive. And then you can see that there is some magnification in that. A lot of fear-based thinking. As parents and as mothers, I think we can all create a gigantic list of fear-based thoughts that we have when we think about our children, their safety, and their wellness. Okay, I know, I wish I could spend more time here, but our time is moving so quick. Okay, so we talked about a few ants. Can we remember what some of those are? We started off talking about
Overgeneralization.
overgeneralization, nice job. And then we jumped into magnifying and minimizing was one that we just did, yes? Disqualifying the positive. And then we had one more. Jump. Look at you. Yes. Round of applause for all of my ladies. Okay, we've got time for a couple more. We were just talking about personalization. Remember my friend earlier was kind of alluding to personalization? What do you think that word means? Selfish thoughts, maybe?
I say selfishness.
Thinking that it's about you, right? So taking too much responsibility for something that was not completely within your control. Or assuming another person's behavior is because of you. AKA, this is all my fault.
What about they tell you it's your fault?
What if they tell you it's your fault? Just because somebody says it doesn't make it true.
Right?
Has anybody ever taken too much responsibility for something that was not completely within their control?
Lately I'm at the,
Mom.
what did I do now?
What did I do? Can anybody speak to that? Anybody want to share of a time where maybe you've taken too much responsibility for something that was not completely yours?
I can share.
Yes, please.
My mom passed away when my brother and sister, they were still little. So I was the oldest, so I kind of raised them. And a lot of that, I had a lot of traumas to where it gave me anxiety. I didn't know that it all stemmed back to when she passed away, because I didn't even know what that was back then. I would go to the emergency room, they're like, you're okay, it was overworked. And it was, when I started like doing, I went into treatment, because I'm in recovery. And it's 6 years next week.
Woohoo! Round of applause.
I kind of put you into it, I'm like, oh, this stems back to this. With all the stuff that I've heard, this stuff in treatment. But yeah, that's.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So a lot of times this is a product of our upbringing, of our experiences, of what we were told, what we've been taught. And you're exactly right. That's where we see a lot of personalization, where you take on a whole bunch that maybe isn't necessarily yours to take on.
You have to feel in control of the situation.
Maybe, or maybe you were told that you have to be
But because of what you experienced.
because of what you've experienced. Yes. Can anybody else speak to that?
What about picking up offenses for other people?
picking up offenses for other people.
Somebody else, it's their problem, but you put yourself in it and you're like, oh no, I'm on your side. Oh, I'm gonna go against all.
Maybe so, yeah,
And you
yeah.
start taking it onto yourself, but
Mhm.
you didn't, it wasn't yours to begin with.
Right? What else?
I think it can be the case for a lot of sexual assault victims, taking on the blame for themselves.
Absolutely. In the case of sexual assault victims or those who have been in traumatic experiences, is taking this responsibility and saying, what did I have to do? If I would have done this better, if I would have done this different, if I would have said this different. And you're taking the responsibility of something that is not yours and never was.
I was gonna say, like, I'm in a recovery journey myself, and I had
Love
to
that,
go,
love that, love that.
had to go a lot of times, in and out of facilities and stuff, so I had to kind of like neglect my children. And I feel guilty for it, but I had to take care of myself, you know, sometimes you have to, you cannot take care of others if you don't take care of yourself.
Right, and so that's a really lovely way, thank you so much for sharing that, where you're not magnifying that situation and making it bigger than what it is, but you're also not minimizing it and making it smaller than what it is. So a great job of saying this is just what it was. Nothing bigger, nothing smaller. So wonderful job there, thank you. Anybody else on this whole personalization thing, taking too much responsibility for something? Or assuming that somebody else's behavior is because of you. This is also the case with like, we see this a lot in toxic relationships,
Oh, yeah. I was-
right? So a lot of domestic violence or intimate partner violence, right? Have you seen some thinking thoughts over there? Okay, good. Assuming somebody else's behavior is because of you. It's hard right when you're told that.
Yeah.
Right, like that kind of like trips you out a little bit, because you're like, maybe it was me. Maybe if I would have said it different, it would have been, like maybe. And so we have to remember that it can feel like reality, but there's only one truth. Right, and so when God is the God of truth, He helps you to align those thoughts that are a little longer. He's gonna help you, He's saying, I'm gonna help you align these thoughts to where they're absolute, they're true, they're real, they're noble. Because sometimes by ourselves, we're like, I don't really know what that was. He's gonna say, no, baby, that's not what that was. But we really need to have that Holy Ghost discernment and have that relationship with Christ so we can bounce those thoughts back and forth with Him. To be like, Lord, am I tripping out? Or like, that was like not right, right? Like He did say that bad word. Like He did say that to me, right? And the Lord is gonna call things to your remembrance as what they are and what they were.
I think that when you go through things, you might not be mature enough at that point, right? Years later, it's gonna come back to you. You might experience it once again with that same person, or maybe that's a situation you're in, and it's gonna come back to you. God's gonna be like, hey, this is why you don't wanna go there again. Don't go there.
Right.
Don't be free.
And when you stay in alignment with Him, He's more likely to talk to you.
Yeah.
But if you're not paying attention because you're over here, you won't hear when He says, no, babe, not that one. That one's not the one. I promise you, it's going to be real clear. Very, very clear. That He's real nice sometimes. No, babe, that's not my best for you. I feel like I need to pause here for a second, and I don't know why. There's a little wait. Would anybody like to share anything on this? Hold space, hold space. Hold space. Can we say that? Hold space, everybody just, we get this moment for 1 second. I feel like it might be a more serious issue, so let's keep our laughter to a minimum. I will also be available after, if you feel like you would like to talk more with me there. There's something in the room. There's somebody here.
Sometimes you think that the situation is okay, and it's, you were talking about magnification, you make it bigger than what it is, even if you know it's not the right thing. Because you're not listening to God. You're listening in, I know better, and you don't know better.
Perhaps.
You don't sit back and think about the situation or the overall.
Or maybe they do think about the situation but still are missing it.
Because it feels good at the moment.
Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. I feel like we got some gray right now. So for those of you who are feeling like this is a little gray, it's not just you, I feel like this is gray too. We can talk about it after today. Okay, all right, we are running out of time. What questions do we have of the ants that we talked about and what to do with them? Remember, most of the time, you're the only one who can hear them. And so what do we do with those? We gotta what? Capture them, like throw them in jail. And then this is really the hard part, is we have to listen to every single one. Because it gets real loud. Women think in many, many thoughts. I was legit talking to my husband, and he was like, no, I do have a nothing box. And I was like, I don't understand. He was like, we actually do have it, because I read it in a book.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? So there's a suggestion that men have like a nothing box where they don't think about anything. And I was like, that's not true. And I was like, is it? And like I had to ask, because I was like, no. He was like, yes. And we talked about it in our small group on Sunday, and all the men were like, absolutely. I was like, no! Okay. I know, I would like to get that. Right, so there's nothing going on. However, we don't have that, we have an everything thoughts, right? So the thoughts, you're the only one who can hear them, meaning you're the only one who can capture them, which is crazy. Then you have to kind of run them through like a filtered out process and say, what did you just say? I said I'm really tired. Okay, you're out of jail. What did you just say? I said my boss sucks. Okay, go to the back of the line. Hold on, I don't know yet. Right. Okay, next. I said I'm really nervous about the kids' exam today. Okay, that's understandable. Next. I'm really anxious about what can happen tomorrow. Next, yeah, we're not there yet. Exactly, you're not there yet. Go back. Right, and so we almost have to filter every single thought that way, but it can only occur if you're paying attention to the thoughts you're thinking. That's weird, right? Okay. So remembering the ants that we discussed, there's actually a few more, and I'm actually looking at a worksheet that I have here. I'd be more than happy to send that over to you guys. But we have other things like black or white thinking. We also have something called a mental filter, emotional reasoning, labeling, I'm a loser, I'm useless, I'm not lovable, things like that. And then should or must. Think talking, like should talk. Have you ever heard of should talk? It sounds like something else you get. Like I should have done this, or I shouldn't have done. Ya pasó, you know what I mean? Like it already happened. It's gone. It's done. Stop. Yeah, the shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's really dangerous, and that's another one of the ants. But we talked about overgeneralization, jumping to conclusions, magnification and minimization, and personalization. Lots of isations. But you've officially learned about the CBT model. How the thoughts that you create then create what? Emotions. And then the emotions create the action. And then round and round and round. And you've got 1 million attempts every single day to change it, to be walking in more alignment with Christ. Which is really great. We got like 1 million chances left in the rest of today, actually, to turn this around. Okay? Any other thoughts or questions before we're done? It was so nice to meet you guys, and thank you so much for letting me just kind of jump in on your time. I'm going to stick around for a little bit if maybe some of that gray space felt a little real gray, kind of heavy. I'm here. I can't be your therapist, but I can be your sister in Christ for right now. And if you're like, hey, that whole counseling thing, like, I'm thinking about it, and we can find somebody for you, whether that's with us or not. We have a lot of free resources. And if you're thinking, I can't afford it, fun fact, there's free counseling in San Antonio. Okay, so price should not be an issue, right? So if you're like, maybe I should, you should. It's your sign. I am your sign. Do it now. Okay? I'd love to get a picture before everybody goes, so if you can hang tight and then wave at the camera when I come through. All right. If you don't want to be on, just tell me and then I'll put a little heart over your face. All right, guys, wonderful job today. Thanks for hanging tight, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you
Thank
all,
you.
thank you to our special guests, and do talk, we do have to make a quick exit because